Hi.
You guys listening to this, we appreciate you guys. You guys are helping us grow this podcast and helping us push forward and do what we want to do with this thing. We just keep growing every time. So if you're new to listening to this, welcome. You guys might be disappointed or might not, but welcome. And we hope you guys stay around, subscribe, like it, share it with a friend. Tell everybody you know about this podcast. Let's fucking blow this thing up. Also, we talked about this last week, but you ever heard of Mountain Primal Meat Company, Kevin?
Well, yes, Jake, I have.
Oh, holy shit. By golly. Mountain Primal, we're partnered with them. They have delicious meat, grass-fed. Well, I don't know if it's grass-fed. I'm guessing it's grass-fed, but it's antibiotic-free, hormone-free.
I mean,
American Highland beef.
yeah.
I'm guessing they eat grass.
They have so many videos of them out there.
In the pastures?
They're in.
Yeah. Check out their Instagram, too. They're at Mountain Primal. That's where
Yeah.
you can kind of see more about what that company is about. But their stuff's delicious. Me and Kevin both eat it. And
Yeah, don't get your beef from Walmart. If that's all you can afford, move something else aside that you don't need. Maybe wine for a day or two.
well, actually, the prices Mountain Primal aren't that bad. So
That's what I'm saying is just don't need to buy that Walmart shit meat.
even better, we can get you listening to this 15% off
We can.
when you order Mountain Primal. Type in Mission Prep, all one word, at checkout, and you get 15% off. So go get yourself some meats and also help support an awesome company with awesome people. You can go back and listen. We've had a couple of their people on, including their founder, John Moss, and kind of give you the gist of what their company is about. So go to mountainprimal.com and tell them we fucking told you to go there because it makes us look good. Let's get into our episode today. Our guest is Bert Sorin. Bert is co-owner and president of Sorinex exercise equipment. They provide pretty much like all the NFL teams, Major League Baseball, NBA, with all their workout equipment in their workout rooms, from the Lakers to the Patriots to all of them. So pretty high quality shit. And we keep calling it shit. We said that in the episode a bunch of times. I almost felt bad. But it's not shit. It's a really high quality workout equipment. And actually, one thing we didn't even go into with Bert was the outdoor stuff.
I know.
They have Sorinex Outdoors too.
I know.
He's really big in the outdoor world, hunting, fishing, all that good stuff. And he has some workout equipment that's based around that.
Yep.
So go check out Bert on Instagram is a good place. Bert Sorin, Sorinex. Go check out their website, all that good stuff. And we had a good conversation with him today. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Kevin's looking at he's looking at Bert's Instagram as we speak.
Yeah, I'm just being super gay right now.
He's really checking him out.
He's
He's a beast of a man with a really good beard.
He is. I like that black rack. It says Freedom.
Oh, that's the Jocko one.
That is the Jocko one.
Yeah. So, yeah, he makes like custom stuff too. Custom workout equipment, and he makes it for like Jocko, Joe Rogan, Black Rifle Coffee, a lot of different people. And he's just a all-around cool dude. So enjoy the episode, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Do it.
What's Mission Prep? Tell me what that's all about.
Yeah, so it'll be up on YouTube and all that good stuff as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's good. Yeah, you look sexy. So don't worry about it.
I look like I've been on about a 12-day bender, so it's perfect.
He's got that beard that's not quite as good as Roger's from what Roger said.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
Yeah, so awesome. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, love being here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, sir. So I think both of us have been following you for quite a long time, at least following your company. I mean, I think everybody's heard of Sorinex.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to remember because I was probably somebody I follow on Instagram or something. Is the first time I saw you guys. I almost want to say it was Wes Whitlock. Because
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Wes and I have been buddies for a long time.
yeah, I've followed him for a long time, and I think I remember seeing him using your stuff, and that's kind of how I became familiar with you. And then
Yep.
Kevin was in the fitness world, he owned a CrossFit gym and stuff for a long time, so he knew of you that way, I would imagine.
Yeah, because we had to have Sorinex equipment because we were attached to an outfitter. So like we had a lot of Rogue stuff. Obviously, it was CrossFit, but
Sure.
we had actually a lot of Sorinex too.
Very cool.
Yeah, because the outfitter they would supply a lot of stuff for like MLB and former NFL athletes that live here and stuff, and they all obviously use Sorinex.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Thanks,
I liked it. I liked the Olympic plates. They're pretty nice for what I was doing with them, and yeah,
Lifting them and things like that.
yeah, just throw them around and shit. Yeah, put them on my butt. But no, like
whatever.
Yeah.
Wait.
yeah,
Figured.
but it was fancy too because when I was in the army, like most of the lifting we did was like cheap shit. It was like Olympic lifting with like iron plates, just trying to
Right.
drop them, and in deployment, you're just working out in the dirt, just with your shirt off, just be masculine as fuck. Like you can get so fit with just nothing. A pair of rings and some sandbags and just a little grit.
Yeah. Yeah. It helps that you're like 19 at the time too.
Yeah, because you realize everything you're doing is like on uneven ground, and your hips are getting thrown out, and you're saying, "Yeah, it's cool. Get over it."
Perfect. This is going to work out great later on in life. Let's keep going. Maybe more
Yeah.
weight.
Yeah, yeah, more weight. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that's why you're already so fucked up now. Part of the reason.
Oh yeah, I mean, getting blown up has something to do with it.
Just a little. Just a little. So you guys, Sorinex supplies like big sports teams and stuff, correct? With all
That's kind of our main market is big sports teams and elite military, or even just general military operations. So that's really, I'd say 85% of our business is there. We certainly sell to smaller gyms and home gyms and things like that, personal performance centers. But our day in, day out, what we're really built for is kind of the more institutional setting of just customers that come in, then we dial it down to the bolt exactly what they want and build out a full system.
Okay. Yeah, because like I've heard you guys are with like the Lakers, the Patriots. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, pretty much. If they're NFL, MLB, NBA, most likely they have something of ours.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, because when did your dad started Sorinex? Is that correct?
My dad started in 1980. Yeah. So when I was a little boy, I was like maybe 4 at the time. And so he started that, and we had Sorin playgrounds. And so he was a teacher, both my parents were teachers, and he started Sorin playgrounds. And so we were doing that for years, and then started Sorin equipment, which was the exercise side of it. And he had to kind of make a choice if he was going to keep teaching and running 2 businesses. So he kind of called them off at different times. And I think we kind of officially went full tilt after Sorin equipment, probably in the early to mid 80s. But we've been going since 1980.
Oh wow. Yeah, and like I said, just from following you guys online, I see like you guys have your Winter Strong and Summer Strong events, which those look fucking awesome.
They're a good time.
Yeah,
they're a good time.
Yeah, well, now since we started this podcast, a lot of the people we've talked to run in the same circles as you and all these companies, and yeah, we talked to a lot of Black Rifle guys, which I know you know all them.
Yep, those are some good dudes. Yeah, I've known those guys since really they started up. I think I have an email still. I went back and forth with Evan in 2014 or 15.
Yeah,
about getting some coffee made. And he had to hit me back. He's like, "Sorry, man. Like we're just completely slammed." It's like right was they started blowing up, and so I always give him a hard time. He never gave me my custom coffee made. I'm trying to be an early adopter.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, I messaged you because I think you posted a picture or something of the rack they have there at Black Rifle in Salt Lake, and we went down there to Salt Lake and saw that thing in person. It was pretty cool, pretty impressive.
Oh, thanks. It was a cool looking space, and that's what we that's what we do best is when people come in, they say, "Here's my space, here's my intent, here's what I'm going for, my requirements, budget amount," and almost like an interior designer, go in there and really design out a full system that hits all the modalities they want for the training effect and to reduce bottlenecks, to maximize their funding and everything like that, and come up with something that's almost always is unique in some ways. I mean, there's a lot of companies that make good black racks or whatever. That's fine. And we could also do that. That's just not as interesting in many ways.
Yeah.
Makes sense. There's a mode for that, but even the design of the Sorinex is nice because I've used them at BSU. Like I'm a senior now at BSU, and I've used your shit there too. I'm like, it's nice, man. It's fucking sturdy. It's not going anywhere. There's less like there's less moments, right? You have a moment. Sorry, I'm in the physics program, so I'm fucking nerd out real quick. But like, it's where you have those moment arms on anything that's a structure and that's cross members, right? And then and when you use, like, I love Rogue stuff and I have Rogue stuff, but you get a lot more sway with the way they build, especially when you have heavy loads on there. And so that's what I appreciate about the Sorinex that I've used at the BSU. I'm like, okay, I fucking get this. I get why it was engineered this way, because you just feel like when you pay for it, it's like shit isn't going to move on you. It just feels better. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's years of doing it and years of using it. I mean, I'm 44 now, almost 45, and I was building Sorinex equipment when I was 15. So 30 years ago, I was working in the shop, or almost 30 years ago, I was working in the shop building stuff. So it's, we didn't just come on in the last 10 years or so as we've been doing it. And so there's little tricks of the trade that you learn, and you learn the hard way. And it's how it is. We have equipment that's been in professional facilities right now longer than most companies have been in business.
Yeah. So, right.
You get a little bit of a body of work there.
Totally.
Yeah. I don't have as nearly as much experience in different, workout equipment from different companies, but just from like people I know and have seen that have used your shit, they have nothing bad to say ever.
That's good. They didn't screw up too badly then. That's perfect.
I would hope not.
Well, unless they don't use it. Like, I pay way too much money for this. Like, well, you don't fucking use it.
That'd probably be my problem.
Yeah, people say, oh, it's expensive. I'm like, well, is it more expensive than some things? Yeah, but most people don't really look at the actual price and see that it's not that much more expensive than most things, especially when it's made in the US. And it's always more, it's kind of like in long distance running or running in general, it's more expensive, or it costs more resource to lead. So if you're having to innovate and change the industry, it is a more expensive method to do it. Whereas if, there's a lot of companies out there that just, we come out with something, they purchase one online, they get it to their place, they reverse engineer it, and 3 months later they have it on their website. They don't pay a sales crew, they don't pay an R&D crew, they don't have to like do all that stuff. And it's, the second runner in line they don't have to break the wind, they just get to kind of draft and cruise. And, a lot of the industry is drafted off of us. And
well, especially
in that it's a less expensive operation, right?
Yeah. I respect the integrity. I pay my money towards the integrity. If you buy local, you buy what you believe in. That's not everybody's like us, obviously. There's people that still fuck, right? And there's and then there's the Chinese grind steal all of our shit, dude. To go to every
No, not at all. No, never.
They just show up at every expo down in Las Vegas and was writing shit down. Like,
yeah,
someone go choke that motherfucker out. Like,
yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason why I don't even show up to some of those conferences. I might walk the floor, but I don't show my stuff there. All I'm doing is giving the Chinese competition or overseas competition 2 or 3 years head start that they're going to get. They're going to copy me anyway. Why am I going to give her 2 or 3 years head start?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's gotten bad recently. You get companies like, ones that you've already mentioned, like, those guys will copy things and then people copy them, and then the Chinese companies copy them. It's just like, geez, whatever.
All you do is
try to stay ahead of it.
Just stay true to what you guys do.
And at the end of the day, they pay for it because it might look similar now at this point, and you realize it's not built the same. It's not it's not tempered the same.
Well, there's a reason.
Well, it doesn't have the same intent, right? Like I could take a picture of you right now and dress the exact same way as you're dressing, but I don't know why you wore what you wore, or like your gear, like when you were operating. Like I could go, all right, I'm going to be an operator now, or I'm going to do these things and be a soldier. I'm like, I'm going to do and get all the gear, but like, I don't know why you carry your primary a certain way, or your secondary, or your med kit or whatever. you know that, and you know there's a reason. You know what came before it, you know what comes after it, because you have experience there. A picture could only tell you so much. So that's where the copycats, they come out, and their stuff might look like ours, and some of it's, I mean, honestly, a couple people have some pretty good ideas. That's great, good for you. I'd much rather you beat me versus just copy me. You know, and so yeah, that's it. You know, I mean, you have to be in it, you have to pay your dues, you have to love what this is all about, and if not, then okay, great, you're second or third to the trough. Like,
yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, also, like I said, we've heard about how good your equipment is. We've also heard from a couple people we've talked to on here how good of a dude you are. Not trying to kiss your ass or blow smoke up it, but I think we sat down with Lucas from Black Rifle, Lucas Sohara.
Oh yeah,
man, he had nothing but good things to say about you.
well, Lucas is not an intelligent person. No, Lucas is awesome. Like, man, that guy, yeah, man, he's one of those dudes that I haven't known very long, maybe a year, maybe a little over, but it's like every time I have interaction, every time I'm around him, you're just like, man, where have you been my whole life? Why haven't we hung out more? And I have nothing but just great things to say about Lucas, and just, I wish he lived closer. It sucks that, like, he used to live in Atlanta, and then now he's way up there at Black Rifle. But you know, I hang with those dudes a good bit, so hopefully we'll get to see each other in a couple of weeks. Actually, he's
yeah,
awesome guy.
yeah. After we talked to him, we were kind of just shooting the shit, and he's like, "Who do you guys want to have on? Who have you not had on? Who do you want to talk to?" And we were kind of putting out a list, and he mentioned you. He's like, "Have you talked to Bert yet?" I'm like, "No, we haven't. That'd be a fucking good one." But then I don't want to put people out, so I never did hit him up and say like, "Hey, connect us." So I just reached out to you. I'm glad you fucking responded. But
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I just pour over my DMs all day. I'm like, "Hey, man, when can I do a podcast? This would be great."
yeah, I'm sure that's
I'm
what
just screwing with you.
Well, no,
no, I appreciate Lucas setting us up. That's great. And,
yeah,
you know, I'm honestly extremely honored to be on the podcast. Like, that is that it's still kind of surreal that people give a shit about hearing me talk. But
yeah, and I think that's why you're probably not a complete asshole. I guess you might call yourself an asshole, but you have humility, which is good.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing is, when you're an ass kicker at what you do, you know, it's like they call me a tyrant, but it's like, well, really, I'm an ass kicker, and I'm fucking motivated, and I have a way of doing things, you know. And people that don't get that, it's like, cool, go back to your fucking job working at the grocery store. We need you, but you know, it's different mentality people, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hopefully, I don't know. I kind of, being a tyrant sounds kind of cool, actually. Probably much neater and cooler than I am. That would be cool. You know, I saw the other day, what was it? The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. I'm sure you've seen that. And he talks about it. He goes, yeah, did they say I'm a tyrant? And it's like, well, the people who say that probably never won anything, never won to win anything. You know, you're like, yeah, being overly motivated isn't too bad if you're using to pull those up around you. But thankfully my team, we pull each other up. So, you know,
yeah,
if I'm down, they're kicking me in the ass and I'm like, hey man, remember what we're doing here? I'm like, right on. Sorry, it's a long week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the world needs all kinds of different people. It needs the people who work on computers. It needs the people that build amazing workout equipment, and it still needs those hard-nosed, hard-working men. Even though that's kind of been like become a taboo over the past few years for some fucking reason to be a man.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it would be really bad to be like any bit aggressive or self-sufficient or capable, or, you know, please don't do that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was having this conversation with a friend of ours who he owns a company where they do tree work, tree trim and stuff. And
that's a hard ass dudes that do that.
It is. Yeah. Kevin used to do it with him, and you got to have guys who are going to do that type of work. In my line of work, I'm a truck driver, and that's another thing. It's fading away.
It's a hard ass line of work too.
There's no like the company I work for. I've been the youngest guy since I started there almost 8 years ago. I'm still the youngest guy because the younger generation isn't doing that type of work, and it kind of blows my mind. But anyways, you need those type of guys. You need hard ass guys who get off work, drink beer, do all that stuff. And people want to kind of look down upon that nowadays for some reason. And I mean, what we've talked about that on here before. What is a man? You don't have to be some big badass to be a man, but we need all kinds of those people in this world. And
yeah,
it's
you have less. Look at all the men that just abandon their families. So the less you, if that's your example of what a man should be, and someone's daughter sees that, and then she marries that, and then she just stimulates more of those guys that like that.
Of course.
And in a world where we don't grow up anymore learning character development, it's about causes and right. Like you should, by the time you're 8, you should be standing against, global warming and racism. It's like, how about we make a good person first and they can think for themselves about that bullshit, not bullshit, but about all that shit. Make a good person.
I agree. I agree. My kids don't know anything about any of that at all. At all. I mean, I'll probably get shit for this, but when all the race stuff was going on, my daughter came home and asked if we were black or white. Had no idea.
Yeah, well, I think that's good. Kids should be oblivious
to. She had no idea, because people in our world are people.
Yeah,
black, white, red, green. It doesn't matter. They're people. We never. And actually, my son, he saw who did he see? He saw someone. They were like they were a bit older than him, and it was an African American gentleman. And he's like, look, we're twins. And my son at the time was like 8.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a white kid because I'm white. and he said that like an older person, like 15, 16 years old, he's like, look, we're twins. And it was because they had the same color shirt on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was as far as it went. He didn't see anything. Hey, look, you also have a shirt on this color. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why can't that be it? I mean, they're going to get faced with enough bullshit in their life.
Yeah.
Why not have their life be pretty solid and just kind of loving up on people and like, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and that's all we can do as fathers is you teach your kids just how to be a good person. And like my kids, both my kids are both half Mexican, half white. Mm-hmm. They don't fucking know. They don't know the difference. And kids. I mean, my little guy, he looks like me, but he had said, he's like, I'm not Mexican. He doesn't even know what Mexican is, other than his mother and his mother's family are Mexican. But he's like, I'm not Mexican, because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what race is. And I think if you raise them the right way, that's never going to mean anything to them, and it shouldn't mean anything to them. It's just, I think that's what the world needs, is just good parents and good role models for the next generation, which I think there's a lot of us out there.
Right. Well, if we're not if we're loving on each other too much, we can't argue. And if you can't argue, you can't pit people against one another. Thus, you can't create a power struggle, and you can't create someone has power. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunately, that's what's occurring, in my opinion, right now is, I told this to Joe Rogan. He actually told the story on one of his podcasts. It was, I said, I think what's happening right now is, well, okay, here's the story. So when I was in college, I was standing in the field, and I was a hammer thrower, and we have these fire ant piles all around the field, right? And you're stepping in them and crap like that. And so you're bored, and you're like 20 years old, and between throws, and I realized that they would never come out, and the grounds people at this university would never come out and kill the fire ants. So what I realized, I would take a Dixie cup from the water jug, I'd scoop up a scoop of fire ants on this one from this mound and this mound, and I would switch them and dump them in each other's mound, and I would stick them with sticks, piss them off real good. Well, of course, they'd start swarming all around. Well, I guess they'd release pheromones. And you talk about the biggest battle royale of all time, like thousands of fire ants just killing the shit out of each other.
Oh, damn.
And I thought it was hilarious, because I'm like, you guys are like 10 feet apart. You never screw with each other. But when I come over here, I jam you up, and y'all all literally kill yourselves completely, to the point where there's no fire ants on this field anymore. Mm-hmm. And I told Joe, I was like, I think that's what's occurring right now politically. I think that there's an outside hand that's taking this group of people and this group of people and just putting them together and shaking the jar to the point where we're all going to fight each other. And everyone thinks it's the other guy's fault, but they need to realize there's some idiot that's above everyone unknowingly and invisibly shaking the jar and creating the fire ant pile, right? And I think Snoop Dogg actually heard that and created the fire. He talked about like red ants and black ants or whatever, but it was interesting. It was like 2 weeks after Rogan said it. And I fervently believe that's what it is. I'm not necessarily going to make statements of who I think that hand is, but I think people are inherently, they want to be good, whether they are good or not. They want to be on the side of right. I don't think there's too many people that want to be the villain. But if you villainize another group that looks or has a different whatever religious, socioeconomic, name something, you could create a fight. And the key is, who does it benefit if everyone loses? It will benefit someone.
Not us.
Not us, not the ants. So then when everyone needs to stop for a second and go, hold on a second. We're all these ants and we're fighting like shit. Who's shaking the jar? And why? More importantly, why?
Yeah.
Why?
That's my rant.
Well, I agree 100%.
I think, man, sometimes it takes some shit to bring people back together. You know, what are we going to do? Do we need to, do we need a fucking meteor? Do we need another world war? Do we need China to just come invade America?
9/11 worked pretty good, didn't it?
Yeah, right. That's like they build you up to that. We're building you up and dividing you so that we can take more control, because now the government needs to intervene, right? The government puts itself in some position to intervene. And it's just like we used 9/11 and also made the Patriot Act, right? Interesting how it just coincide with each other, right? They get themselves in a position to take more power or control, and they do facilitate something, right? It's happened numerous times. That was just so obvious because of we already had going into internet age and everything else, and some people had cell phones at the time, So I mean, I think it was just more obvious at that time when it happened.
Well, I also think like there is the conspiracy theory side of things where they think like, hey, the government did this. I don't think that. I think something bad happens and the government's like, oh, hey, look at that. These people are a little flustered right now because of what just occurred. Now we can get something over on them. And because I'm skeptical on a lot of things, especially like conspiracy theory related things, but I'm not skeptical when
you don't believe in aliens.
I don't think that's conspiracy theory, but no, like,
well, conspiracy theory, think about, let's define conspiracy theory. A conspiracy theory is that you have a theory that there were conspirators in some way, and there may be a conspiracy.
True.
So
true.
I think the term in itself has been demonized and villainized, where you just, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist, he's crazy. Well, what if there's been a conspiracy? Have there ever been conspiracies in the world? Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever have enough evidence where you had a theory that might be taking place? Yeah. So based upon that, you are a conspiracy theorist. Unfortunately, the term, now, do I think there's some crazy ass stuff out there that, like, okay, come on, that's just ridiculous. But what is to say that we shouldn't look at evidence and try to arrive at potential reasons and outcomes? But if that's going to be immediately villainized and used bad terminology against, so you could say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. Well, that must mean that you vote Trump. It must mean that this, it must mean 50 different bad things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just paying attention and I have some evidence. And I think that maybe you put this group of evidence together and gosh, it really looks like this could be the case. I don't know. It just looks like this.
Yeah. Well, right. I don't know when it became a bad thing to have an opinion and question things. I think that's a healthy thing, is to question things in life.
It became bad when what you said was true and it hurt someone's feelings. And then they call you a fascist and said you can't do it. So now it makes them a fascist. And they don't realize they're being a fascist.
But once again, this all goes back to what Bert was just saying, pinning everybody against each other.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like, because we've talked about this on here countless times. I don't think we're all that different. Like you were just saying, actually just this weekend, we were up at a cabin with my family. And my wife, one of my wife's family members is from Los Angeles. She's a super liberal person. We had really good conversations around that fire. Nobody was fighting. Nobody was telling each other that they were idiots. Right. And the conversation was a really good conversation, which is, you should be able to have those, whether it's politics or whatever. And I think that's most people.
That's been my experience. It's only been ever bad with someone who is like a liberal or conservative when there's too much hand waving going around. Shit that cannot be, shit that's not backed up or can't be verified. It's just hand wavy, off the shoulder fucking comments as if they're facts when they're not. That's when you start bullshit,
That might be my new rule. If having a conversation with opposing views, everyone needs to put their hands in their pockets.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a big hand talker though. That's
Well,
hard.
no,
Yeah, I agree, but like you really have to like pick your if you're sitting like this and you have to make your point, you really better pick your words.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're going to, with your words and your tone and your clarity of action, have a curious and candid conversation to make sure someone understands what you feel and give evidence for that. So then you can have a good, as you said, conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I'm doing this in your face,
Uh-huh.
well, now the hackles are going up and everyone's kind of wigged out, and then all that nonsense starts.
Yeah.
I mean, and if it doesn't work, have him hold somebody else's pocket, because it's like humility too. Like, hold
Oh,
my.
yeah. I love it. Yeah, you have a big chain of people that you have to like put your hands in each other's pockets, and you have a big circle.
Yeah, it's like the human centipede,
weird.
but
Do the old cut your pockets out of your pants trick?
oh my god.
Well, no, I think more people we have more in common than you want to say, like the mainstream news or any of that leads us to believe, because I have friends that are both conservative and liberal, and I love them all. We all want the same thing. We want our family to be happy and healthy, and it's
Yep.
I think things like podcasts are important because you can hear normal people, everyday people talk about their lives, and
Right.
we've had a little bit of everybody on here, and we all have shit in common. All of us do.
Yeah, that's what you look at. The one of the best things you could do is turn off your TV and turn off your news and walk around your neighborhood and say hi to people and wave to people on the streets and say hello and ask them how they're doing and things like that. Because I don't know if there's a liberal lady down the street or a hardcore conservative down the street. I don't know. I'm going to walk around and like introduce myself to people and say, hi, how are you doing? I legitimately hope you have a great day. I'd prefer you not to get hit by a car. Hey, make sure you get your kids in. Let me help you out with that. But why aren't people just doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're watching the news and watching TV and media and all this other stuff that tells us we're supposed to hate these idiots that did, you won't believe what so-and-so did.
Mm-hmm.
I know I won't believe it. I don't believe it to start with it. I'm not even gonna fucking read about it. That's how that's going to work. So, it's just very interesting that people, I don't know, man. It's sad because we're getting all really, really, really spun up when probably if you were to walk down your road and talk to some people, you probably wouldn't like just randomly get in a fight.
Oh.
And if you are, you're probably an asshole or that person's an asshole.
I was going to say, except for that one fucking neighbor, fuck that guy. No.
Well, that guy, yeah. Well, he needs to get his ass beat.
Yeah. But no, just like I was talking about, us sitting around that fire up there in the mountains. We're not on our phones, we're not watching TV, sitting around a campfire. And it was a conversation, and that's all it was. And we had some opposing views, and no fighting, no argument happened. It was just a talk, which is, and like Kevin here, people who listen to this know he can be very opinionative.
Nah.
And I think people who watch the internet and the news and stuff would think someone who's liberal would be very offended and pissed off by that. My wife's family member didn't care at all. She just sat there and had a conversation. And I think that's most people.
Well, it's because I also say a lot of hard truths, and some people get pissed at me for that. But it's like, it doesn't mean it's not true. It's a hard truth.
Mm-hmm.
Should we give everybody access to shit and like should everybody have access to, better foods? Yeah, I guess. But unless they're targeting poor communities where we can't put those foods, okay. And the real question is, should everybody be active, since it's in our fucking genes to be outside and doing things with our bodies? You know what I mean? If you are eating carbohydrates and you are sitting on your ass all day, you defeat the purpose of what insulin is supposed to be used for, right? That's the hard truth. Oh my God, I just heard from someone that I can't fucking eat carbs or this or that.
You're fat shaming.
I'm fat shaming, essentially. It's like, well, maybe I am, but what kind of example do you want to set for the people around you, right?
Sure.
And we don't have equity from birth. Not everyone's built the same, but we got to do the best with what we got. You know what I mean?
And everyone has strengths and weaknesses. I certainly have glaring weaknesses, and then I either can choose to try to make those better, or I can team up or hire those around me that cover my back in those weaknesses, because I'm bringing some things to the table that I happen to be very good at that I'm bringing to the tribe. That's how it works. That's like the social aspect of all this. And you talk about conversation. I know I mentioned it earlier. The two biggest things, if you could be curious and you could be candid. in your conversation with one another. Curious as in I actually care what you have to say, and I'd actually like to ask you a question and not just wait for you to finish so then I get to talk, but really concerned of what your point of view is. And then candid, when you ask me a question, I'm actually going to tell you what I think or feel about that. And if we could just drop the bullshit and do that, works out pretty well.
Yeah, because when you go too long without doing that, then everything you say offends somebody. Because they're never used to that. Like, what? I was just saying, like, to you, it's like, or to me, or to Jake, it's like, I just gave you a response. What are you upset about? It's like, well, you told me the truth. You didn't just fluff it up for me. Like, well, come on, man. Like, I'm helping you by saying this way. So, yeah,
and I'm wasting my time if I ask you something and you're not candid with me, because I don't need to hear a story. I'll go watch a movie if I want to hear something, watch something fake. Like I don't have time. So, all right, in that case, like if you're just going to fluff things or lie to me, you've kind of made yourself obsolete in my life, because I'm not going to spend my hard-earned time, that this little bit of time I have on this planet, hearing stories. Or I'll say, hey, tell me a made-up story, and then I get to listen.
Yeah. Well, and like as a fat guy most of my life, and I'm trying to change that currently, I welcome fat shaming. I think it's a good, because it's motivating.
Because it works.
It does, man. And
Works.
like when I've had my ups and downs with fitness and stuff, and Kevin's my go-to guy for help with that. But when I'm starting to put on weight, I want my wife or my best friend to tell me like, hey man, you're not looking healthy. Let's get in the garage. Let's get after it. And that's why it's really fucking hot here right now. We're having a heat wave. And at like 10:30 this morning, it was 92 degrees already. And I went on a run. I don't know if that was a good choice, but it was a good choice. I feel better about myself today because I did that. Sure. And I think, like I said, as a fat guy, I welcome fat shaming. And as long as you're not trying to do it for ill intent, you're not trying to hurt somebody. But if you're motivated to be a better person.
Or weak shaming or anything like that. I mean, I've been a weak person or less than desirable at a performance. And you know what got my ass up doing it? It wasn't everyone going, attaboy, you could almost get there. They're like, no, dude, you suck. You just choked your ass off at this meet, and you pretty much suck right now, and you get your shit together or leave. Like those actual statements motivated me. Then I was like, oh, you gave me criteria. You gave me a criticism. You gave me a criteria, and you gave me an out. Get your shit together or leave. Okay, so I don't have to leave. You're not telling me to go away. You're just telling me if you want to stay, you have to do these other things. If you also find them valuable, that you'll do them. Then I was like, okay, cool. So I need to get my shit together. Got it. Now, how do I do that? Hey, how do I need to do that? It was, you either better get your grades up or you need to throw really far. Got it. I have my criteria. And then it was up to me whether I wanted to do that or not. That actual candid answer was the best thing they could do. Someone saying, hey, Bert, you're a nice guy. People like you. And I think you'll be good one day. That wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wouldn't have done anything.
I agree fully. I mean, I'm that way with my kids. I have 2 boys, and when they fail at something, I try to not tell them, hey, it's okay. I say, hey, why'd you fail? Was that person, if they lose something, was that person better than you? If they were and you want to be better than them, then you got to work. My older son was in jiu-jitsu, and we had that conversation a lot. A kid would beat him, and I'd tell him, hey, why'd they beat you? Were they better than you? And he'd kind of think about it, and it's like, okay, you got to work a little harder if you don't want them to be better than you.
Right.
I think that's how it should be. I don't think, I know it's like popular to say like, don't give participation trophies and all that shit, but I agree with it, because you got to tell your kids, you got to show them that they have to work hard if they want to get where they want to get.
Yeah. Because with the ribbons and all that stuff too, and all that started in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. How many people are in prison right now that have a false sense of entitlement? Like, I wonder where that comes from, you know? And there's nothing wrong with being there emotionally for your kid if they lose. I was in sports at a young age. If you lose, you got 4th place, or you did something silly and you didn't win, you don't just immediately berate them right off the bat. Like that happened to me, right? You don't berate them off the bat. It's like you emotionally support them, do what they need for whatever long it takes, 10 minutes, whatever, 15 minutes, and then we work on that. How can we go? Where can we build on from here? And they have to get used to that. Like, okay, here's what you did wrong, or here's why you not getting enough sleep or missing your training days. Here's the outcomes of that. Like here's how, then you make a plan. If you don't make a plan, you're just talking, right? So you make a plan. How do we go? Where do we go from here? How do we do this? And how can we employ it? Employ this plan and see where it works. And it usually works. And it usually has something to do with putting hard work in. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, it's so weird because people don't do that a whole lot anymore. When I say people, I just mean there's a chunk of people in America that are like, man, that's so hard. I can't do that to my kids. That's just, maybe we should just avoid sports altogether. It's like, they'll be a good person. Like, cool. But I think it's good because I like sharing. Those are the values I have. I like being around people that have those values. No matter how old we are, it's like if we get together and it's like, hey, you want to have like a butt chug contest? Who can do it faster? I'm competitive. Like, yeah, motherfucker, I'm down. Let's do it. And then the military does that too, reinforces it. The military reinforces, I would say, sociopathic behavior because there's none of that emotional space, right? It's immediately, you fucking suck, you piece of shit. I can't believe you fucked that up. Because what they're trying to do in modern psychology is get you to say, I'll show you, motherfucker. And that's what you do. I'll fucking show you. But then you do it to everybody. Like, oh, you garden? Let me fucking show you how to garden, motherfucker. And it's like, I'll be better at everybody at everything. Kind of, some people, it makes them go too far, especially Marines, I feel. But
that's in a certain job description, that's pretty much needed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those, you're like, hey, I hope these Marines are like really super well adjusted and like really cuddly, and like that'd be awesome. We're going to send them in a Fallujah, man. I hope they are really in touch with their feelings and really, enjoying every step of the journey. It's about the journey. Like, nah, you want those guys to kill a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Yeah. And think about the Mercury astronauts. If you break it down, they valued going to the moon more than and potentially dying versus staying with their families and being around with their families.
Sure.
Right? They're selfish pricks, but do you move the ball forward in a country without selfish pricks? No.
Like I was saying, the world needs those guys still.
Yeah.
And
100%.
It needs hard-nosed people, and it needs guys who are motivational to other people as well. I mean, I would say you're one of those. What's you're saying? Burn the gas.
Burn the gas.
I'm not even lying. Today when I was running, that went through my head because I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Because I knew we were talking to you today.
Hey man, it's yeah. I mean, you're right. Like motivational, hard ass people are really a lot of times the backbone, or at least the war cry for the regular people out there to elevate, right? And not to get again political, but how could you break down a society? You take out those people. You take those people out of the population, and then as a kid I never understood why the old like the old military, like back hundreds of years ago, they had like the drummers, like, what the hell do you have a drummer for? Like you're playing music while you're walling out there trying to fight. Like I'm thinking like, sneaking around and doing the whole deal. You're like, no, if you and the boys are out with axes running at this group of dudes with axes, like some theme music's probably a pretty good plan. Mm-hmm. Like getting amped is probably a good idea at this point to go berserker. And you're like, oh, so like that drummer is a pretty important person, or the bagpipes or whatever it may be. Like that was important. And they didn't have a gun, they didn't have another, but they were getting people amped to go out there and elevate their game, And so you look at that and you go, okay, the world needs those people. Or unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to get out of that maze of mediocrity, and they just stumble around in there their whole life, when sometimes it's a pretty straight shot. There's not even really a maze. It's just that straight shot might be uphill, and they don't know how to do that.
Yeah. I never even thought about that with the drummers, but that's a good point.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like intuitive. Like before we got on a mission, we're just like blowing that Cannibal Corpse up. Just like, all right, let's go get it, man. Like,
Well, yeah, but that was your drummer, right?
Yeah.
Think about when you're working out. Like I love working out with hard hitting music because it makes me want to do it harder.
Correct. Or if you're a complete psychopath, you do it in total silence.
Nope, I'm not there yet.
I sometimes do that just to test if I'm just absolutely insane or not. And then you're like, gosh, the silence is weird. And you're like, wow, I wonder if I could do a bunch of weird things in my head right now that just clogged the whole airspace right now with sound.
Yeah.
And then an hour later, you're like, hey. And then someone might see my video on Insta. They're like, dude, you don't listen to music when you train. I'm like, oh, sometimes I don't.
What kind of savage are you? No, I mean, I'm not there for sure, because there's something about music that when
Oh, yeah.
out, man, that's one song comes on, everybody has a couple of those, and you're
It's certainly a performance enhancer, no question.
yeah, 100. I like what you said about the drummers in war. I never thought about that. It's kind of cool.
Well, why they do the bagpipes, right? They were
Yeah.
just had this, and if you've been around pipes, which I'm sure you have, like at first they're annoying and then they kind of get into your bones, you know, and you're just like, all right, you know, I hear them now, the hair stands up on the back of my neck. Like, well, I competed in those games. So when I heard that, it was fight time. It was time to go, you know, and you could see how, especially if that was bred into you, you know, and you show up at, you know, these cats have a little drummer boy and you're cranking bagpipes, these shrill, horrible sounds, and all your dudes are just amped and faces painted with spears and shit. You're like, this is about to get live.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I could get it. Like that vibe would just be contagious among the men.
Yeah. Yeah. When what bagpipes kick into like an AC/DC song, it sounds fucking badass.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
Oh, shoot. So yeah, so you competed in the Highland Games then, huh?
I did. Yep. Competed off and on. Actually, my first game ever was, so I think September 11th was on a Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday. And so Saturday, I think it was the 16th, 17th or whatever it was the Charleston Highland Games was the first sporting event since 9/11 that they had. And that was my first Highland game ever.
Oh, wow.
And so that was my first game. And then I did them off and on throughout my, like, while I was training to try to go to the Olympics in the hammer. And then in 2006, I jumped into them a little bit more heavy, and then 7, and then I turned pro in 08 and did them for a couple years there. And then my body just finally tapped and was like, all right, we're done. This is you're big, but you're not that big. And then so the red line kind of finally paid off, like caught me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That happens to everybody, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I guess burning out is better than fading out or something like that. But anyway, I just ran out of body and ran out of time. And you realize the price tag associated with what your goals are, and you realize when you can no longer pay it. So that's where I was at that point.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it about when you're a professional athlete. I'm not talking about like curling or anything. Like, but when you're a professional physical athlete, you know what it really does. You really are sacrificing for some greater cause, something ahead of you. You know.
Oh, you're giving away days of life for seconds of enjoyment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Right.
think about fighters, man. Like, they're, you know, the brain damage and all the stuff that comes along with fighting, but they know what they're doing and they're going for that glory and they love it.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of professional athletes. Football, I mean, those guys are getting knocked around, but it's
right.
Are you willing to do it is the question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do you see value in those few seconds? I mean, yes, the process of all of it was fun, but I could still remember a few high points of my career, both in track and field and lifting and like all the different sports I've done. There's been like a cumulative 30 seconds in each sport that I did for years. That is like, if you stacked all that up, that was the big endorphin hits and the amazing times that I would relive. And the rest of it was fun at times and was totally shitty at times and super, super hard at times. And, you know, I remember having one throw in training, not even in a meet. And I trained for an entire year just to feel that same feeling of one more throw, because I knew it was in there. I wanted to do it again. And you look and you're like, okay, that feeling lasted maybe a second, maybe. And I'm going to do 365 days of hard ass work by myself in a field and lifting weights and all this other stuff because I enjoyed that feeling that lasts a second one time.
Yeah.
I'm insane. This doesn't make any sense. The balance sheet on this is idiotic. And then you realize later that the process to chase that is what built the fortress.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, that was really cool. And that carrot had to be dangled out in front of me. And that's probably it for all of us, right? I mean, there's probably someone that like, I wanted to go do this for 20 years and train my ass off because I love training my ass off for 20 years. Like that's probably not the case. You're chasing something.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. It's like the refined aesthetic, right? You have the aesthetic, the vulgar, and then the refined. The base level aesthetic person is just like, man, I'll just take a picture real quick, or I'll just fake the funk. They just want the instant gratification. But that refined is like, no, I'm gonna put the work in. Like, I want that feeling at the end of the day. That's the same person who's like, I'm gonna become a medical doctor, go to school for 8 to 10 years, because at the end of the day, I want to be that. You know, like you gotta put some fucking work in to get to enjoy that. Because how many people get to enjoy those 30 seconds? Not a lot of people, because they don't want to put the work in. You know, like, well, I can't get this in like 3 days. Can I be a professional at something in like 3 months? Because if it's not, I just don't want to get into it. You know, like, come on.
Hard paid 30 seconds.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And
it's like me with the guitar right now. I've wanted to learn how to play the guitar my entire life. But I haven't wanted to learn to play the guitar enough where I actually sat down and learned how to play the guitar. I have to be realistic about that. I think it's super cool. I have a guitar. I keep going, you know what? I'm going to sit down tonight and start doing chords. And there's something about me that goes, man, that would be awesome to be a beginner in something again. And then there's something terrifying because I go, I have so little time in life. I'm about to start another journey that I won't get to those 30 seconds for maybe decades. Shit, I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
And so like the guitar, I have it hanging on my wall and I keep going, all right, pick it up. And then I see one of my other buddies, he'll pick it up and start playing, you know, after a couple of years, he's like pretty good at it. I'm like, damn it, I should have started. It just makes me mad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also want to learn the guitar, but I mean, I play drums in a couple like metal bands and stuff, but I just like, I have so much in my head that I'm like, man, I need to learn how to play guitar because a lot of fucking ideas up here that you guys don't get, you know, like, you know.
Yeah.
There you go. You picked the perfect time.
Yeah.
I tried to learn guitar. I still have the very first guitar I ever got. I never got lessons or anything, but I know some of like the beginning coolest riffs of songs, and that's about it. I never did learn like a full song.
You're considerably further along than I am.
Like I have a sweet ass fucking guitar, but
I can play the shit out of Smoke on the Water though.
Oh, I would just sit around campfires playing that for everyone if that was the case.
Yeah, just trying to get laid, just like.
I would like go to my wife and like, hey, check this out, and I just keep doing it. She's like, all right, stop.
Like, oh my god.
I haven't heard that 800 times.
Yeah.
Please stop. No. So yeah, all right, dude. We'll let you get out of here. I don't want to hold you on here too long.
Right on, man. I appreciate the time.
Dude, we appreciate you coming on. I'll keep you on after I end record, just ask you a couple questions. But yeah, sure. You're a motivational dude. And it was really cool talking to you today because like I said, I've been following you for a little bit and you motivate me, and I'm sure you motivate a lot of fucking people. So I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. That means a lot. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys taking the time to have me on.
Yes, sir. We appreciate you.